Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about, well, when people do things, if you're around a lot of people who are very narcissistic, histrionic, all that kind of blend of those negative behaviors, you might have forgotten about what do people do who are good, decent people. That's how I've always heard it, good, decent people. Now, nobody's perfect. We know that. We can do wrong, and even as good, decent people. But there's no real one answer. What do they do? Because of so many things, so many people's situations, people are different. Their situations are different. And what could be good for one person to do might be terrible for another person to do. Because they might be around narcissistic or cluster B type behaviors. People with those behaviors. And it could turn out bad just doing something good. Here's an example. An example would be like doing something that's charitable, charity. Even something as simple as paying it forward. Now, these days, at first, paying it forward I think it came from a movie, didn't it? With that name. But it was something, something kind of new. Now, whether people have been doing it before then, I don't know. I don't recall ever people even saying that, pay it forward. That phrase, pay it forward. So whenever it did start happening, it wasn't all that common yet. It took a while, took years to get to where it became common. And as it became common, it became that it wasn't anything people really saw as bad. It became to be more like a game in a way. Not really a game, but you get what I'm saying. Let me go back a little bit. Some people, I live in Texas, and it even surprised me as I got older to realize that some people really can't stand the thought of giving charity or receiving charity. Either one. Too many, not everybody, and it's not all Texans that live in Texas, I am Texan. I was born and raised. I lived in many other places, many other states. But, in Texas, I have seen this, and I've seen people who are good at giving charity. They don't have any problem with it. Receiving it, no problem. But some people, some of those, just those really bad ones, they see it as, well, they put themselves in that situation. They should have pulled themselves up from their bootstraps. And they should, so, you see what I'm saying? And they make it charity very negative. Well, it's not. And some of them, anyway, I shouldn't go that part. But yeah, some people do have a negative thing. And for somebody to give them, oh my goodness, you just stepped over every boundary there is possible. To offer them, help with something. Yeah, that's not my thoughts on good, decent people. If you need help, get help. If you have it to give help. Okay? That's how I see it. Okay. And of course I do, well, some wouldn't know that it's of course, but it's not something really to brag about. Now, if it helps others to see that it's okay, I feel, if some people have such a negative attitude, sometimes when they see that other people don't have that negative attitude about giving charity, then they think, maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it is a good thing. You see, you like to say, I'll give to charity. I don't have a problem with it. Just that little bit of a thought makes them think, yeah, maybe so. Maybe it's not a bad thing. Or I've received charity before. Okay, when I really needed it, that's what it's there for. That's what people do it for. And I can give back when I'm back on my feet. Yeah, just that little bit. People hearing that might change their mind. Okay, but now I want to tell a little story. Where was I? But yeah, paying it forward is become a little bit like, people just do it and they think if it's fun and jolly, they're all happy about it. And hey, if somebody in front of me did pay it forward in a drive-through, I'm going to do the same for the next person. Whatever it is. You can give like $10 toward the next person's meal. Whatever it is, like somebody did for you. And, especially like people who don't really like charity, they might do something like that. Or they can just say, skip it, give it to the next person. It's not that big of a deal. And that when it became pay it forward, But when somebody hears charity in certain places, certain people, not everybody, of course it's not all, and so there's that. So I was going to give an example. Okay, that's where I was. Real life happens in the middle of videos. An example is the woman Jane. Okay, Jane is in her early 60s, and she had just had her brother and sister-in-law, her her late husband's sister and brother-in-law. I believe that's how it is. And they're married, and they helped her because she had to sell the house. She wasn't able to afford it on her own, and they helped her with that. The sale of the house. They helped her with boxing everything, having garage sales, plural, to get some of this stuff sold, and putting some stuff in storage and all that. And they also gave her a job, and that is to run a set of cabins that they own in Victorson County. They run this, cabins on the lake, and they have people that rent them seasonally, usually just seasonally. And they needed somebody to run it, so they, let her. She lives there on site and runs it from the office. That's all together where she lives, and so that was everything that she needed. These were good, decent people. She came from a dysfunctional family, but her late husband's family, they're good, decent people. And we all know that there can be, in a family, there can be good and there can be bad. Okay, there could be some that are kind of rather indifferent. Some might say indifference is bad, but or it's good, either way. But so she kind of found a family, that she married into a family that was good, and they were there for her when she needed help. Okay, and I personally would say, and like I said, that one size doesn't fit all. It could wind up being bad for some people, but that kind of thing is something good, decent people do. To me, okay, you might have a different opinion. It might not be work for you. Because some people say, well, what if they then controlled her? Yeah, that could happen. That she got herself into a bad situation thinking they were good. But no, these are good, decent people. So she's the same. She's a good, decent person. She treats people right. She doesn't, she's not any of those negative behaviors, cluster Bs. She doesn't have any of those. And she doesn't go out to do somebody wrong at all. Okay, we all know it can happen. We're not perfect. But so she wants, she's very grateful for what happened, for what they did for her. Okay, now she's not out looking for a reason, something to do, pay it forward to, but she's in a grocery store that Butch, the grocer, owns, and she sees a young woman with a baby, okay, a little bitty baby, infant. And she sees this young woman looking at diapers, baby diapers, and counting her money, counting her change and everything, like as if she has to see, can she even afford it? And Jane, gets this idea in her head. She never had children. She and Ben never had children, and so she never will have grandchildren of her own. And she sees this young lady, and she looks like she really is having a rough time. She's not dressed, in good clothing. It looks like she needs a shower. Her hair is kind of greasy and oily. Not greasy, but oily. And I keep saying so pardon the blinker. I don't know why it's on. But so she sees that, and she's real good friends with Butch. She's known Butch and his wife for a long time. And she decides to do a pay it forward thing. She sees that young woman really struggling. It seemed like to her. Now she's more of an empath. She's empathetic. She thinks she can feel what. She doesn't think. She knows she can feel things. She feels things a little deeper. Other people have told her, that, and she knows it. And she's realized it. It's her all these years. So she goes up to Butch She hasn't even shopped yet, finished shopping. She still has her, her little basket in her hand. And she tells Butch, she says, I want you to start a tab for this young lady. She doesn't tell the young lady. She said, the one that's trying to buy diapers, she said, start a tab for her. She said, don't tell her it's me, just tell her it's a pay it forward. Don't tell her it's from me, tell her it's a pay it forward kind of situation. Again, people don't generally get offended by a pay it forward. And so she gives him $100 and tells him, and she knows him, she trusts him, he'll do that. He said, sure thing. So she went back, my voice, I'm telling you, she went back to finish shopping her groceries, but she also wanted to see where that young lady went. She just had this odd feeling, something just was kind of ringing her bell to her. She wanted to see where, not in a stalking kind of way, but in a concern kind of way. There's a difference. There is a difference, big difference. She's concerned about this young woman and that baby. Okay. So she, goes around the grocery store and she sees that young lady go out to leave. So she goes and she doesn't buy anything. She just goes out and gets in her car. And, Jane does, and she waits. Okay. So she waits for this, young lady to check out. And when she does, the young woman comes out of the store, and she later on hears from Butch what happened. But she just still had that look of shock and surprise on her face. And she didn't go back and buy more, but she just, walked out with the diapers and just shocked and, look on her face. And so Jane sits there and she waits, and the young woman starts walking, and she waits a while. She knows that that's a road. It takes a while to get down it. So eventually, she kind of catches up with her, and she sees the direction she's going, and it's toward her cabins. Now, her cabins are nearby there, that little store. And she's walking to a shed that is a storage shed that's stuff that's really old, and they don't lock it. They don't keep, it's out in the country. They don't lock it because it's not really anything. If somebody stole it, that would be best. They're getting rid of it, that kind of thing. They're hauling it off for them for free. So it's, older things. It's got like mattresses, that are, they put them in their mattresses, and, some tables and, different things that, like I said, it's just old. They haven't carried them off, take them to the dump or whatever yet. So, or sold them in a garage sale, this kind of thing. And she sees that young woman. It does have electricity and to it. And she kind of figured that's what was going to happen. That the young woman was going to go toward there. She just had this feeling. She just somehow knew. So, the woman, goes toward that. It's on the property that she manages, in the cabins. She, it's like a little bit, by that time it's more like a, not really dirt road, but more of a gravel kind of road. And, she stops and she doesn't accuse the young woman whose name turns out to be Sarah, with the baby, and she doesn't accuse her of anything. She just says, to her, she's looking at her. She says, I saw you earlier, and I'm looking. She says, do you need a job? She says, or do you know anybody who wants to clean the rooms at the cabins? She doesn't ask her first, do you want a job? But she says, do you know anybody who cleans cabins, who would be a maid for me? I'm new managing the cabins, and I need somebody to clean and organize, stuff like that for about 40 hours a week. And the young woman just, stands there, and she's kind of, again, still shocked because so much is finally going right for her, and it just seems like so much. And she said, what about you? Do you need a job? Jane did. What about you? Do you need a job or anything? And she says, and Sarah finally says, what does it pay? And she told her it was very reasonable. She said, if the person needs a place to live, they can have one of the cabins to live in while they're, as part of their payment, and this amount, per, or, do it as per hourly, and then take out that much for the cabins. And they go over it. She goes over it. She says, new, and I'm trying to find, good amount of pay and all this. And the young woman jumps on it, okay, because, it's kind of obvious, okay, at this point, and she jumps on it. So not only did she pay it forward, but she helped this young woman out. And to me, those are good things. If it's coming from a good, decent person that's straight from their heart, and they're not manipulative, they're not doing something for some other reason that is, all about them. Some would say giving a person a job is, well, no. This is helping this young woman. Okay, this is actually helping somebody. Okay, to get out of whatever it is. She doesn't find out until later on what's going on with Sarah, but she's helping. Jane is helping. And some people, like I said, we've gotten so far, we don't know what are good acts. Of course, like I said so many times, it's not always good for some people, because it could be somebody who's being manipulative and, doing a cluster B kind of behavior. But not in this case, not in Jane's case at all. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up, and I'll update this, give more on this on another video. So if you want to subscribe to this channel for updates, click the circle icon if you haven't subscribed already, and click that button and subscribe. You can watch other videos that show up in little thumbnails. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.